What up? It's your boy T-Bone Reaction. So today is wrestling reactions because it's about to go past Wednesday. So we want to check out one. This is an issue I thought was want to check out as well too. It is called 10 Common Wrestling Moves Named After Famous Wrestlers. So there's a lot of moves that's out right now that you may or may not know are named after wrestler. One of the most noble one, or the most underrated one you say is the Michinoku Driver, which was made by well-known Japanese wrestler Taka Michinoku. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, people may know him only for his WWE run, but he was legendary in Japan, so it's definitely nice for too. They also did the Luthez press made by Luthez and many other moves as well too. So without further ado, let's find 10 comedy wrestling moves named after a famous wrestler that might be might school me a little bit. Let's get it.
Wrestlers love to name moves after themselves, especially their finishers. You've got the Batista Bomb, the Stone Cold Stunner, the Rock Bottom, the Vader Bomb, the Just Joe Low Blow.
Just Joe Low Blow.
But you get the point. Sometimes, though, a grappler's name becomes associated with a move that becomes commonplace in the wrestling world. And those are the moves that we're interested in.
Frankenstein, yep.
While these moves are sometimes known as something else, the most widely used name for them was inspired by a specific wrestler. So don't get smart with us, alright? Especially you. And I do mean you. I'm Sam Driver from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 common wrestling moves named after famous wrestlers. Join us. Number 10, the Code Red.
So,
fans of a certain era of TNA will remember
Mason Red. Okay.
A talented high flyer, Mr. Red won 3 X Division championships and the NWA World Tag Team titles alongside Jerry Lynn. That has no bearing on the rest of this entry. I just wanted to talk about Jerry Lynn. What a guy. Anyway, one of the star's most impressive moves was a flipping sit-out powerbomb known as the Code Red. Also known as a Yoshi Tonic in some circles, this name really took off in the United States, to the point where it's now a firm part of wrestling's lexicon. A bunch of famous performers have incorporated the move into their arsenal, from Dustin Rhodes to Mercedes Moné to Red's own cousin Zelina Vega. Roxanne.
Really? I never knew his cousin.
She calls it pop
the Pop Rocks.
Coward. John Cena went through a phase of using the move. Although, as was the case whenever Cena tried something new, he would usually mess it up and nearly kill someone. Remember the springboard stunner?
Yeah.
Dark days. Red is also the head of House of Glory training school, so don't expect this move to go away
that's explain why he's being on the line. I knew he's part of the head trainer there. Nice.
Time soon. Number 9, the Saito Suplex.
Yep.
On the rare occasion that Karrion Kross wins a match on WWE TV these days, he might do so with the Doomsday Saito Suplex. Whilst the Doomsday part of that name is a Kross original, the other part belongs to somebody else. Masa Saito was a legend of the wrestling game. He traveled all over the world, winning titles in promotions like the American Wrestling Association, New Japan, and even the early days of WWE. He was also involved in that incident when Ken Patera threw a rock through a McDonald's window because they wouldn't serve him. Get him in the Hall of Fame! His other great contribution to the business was the creation of the Saito Suplex. Also known as a backdrop driver, the offensive wrestler picks up their opponent's side on before dropping them on the back of their neck and shoulder. Everyone and their mums use this move. You can find entire YouTube compilations of just about every single wrestler ever hitting it. Even Shawn Michaels used to use it back in the day. He would call it the teardrop suplex because it made people cry. What are you asking me for? I didn't name it. Number 8. Pillmanizing. Not a move per se, but Pillmanizing is one of the more common ways a wrestling heel can get ahead. The technique involves wrapping an object, usually a steel chair, around an opponent's limb or neck, and then stomping or jumping onto it to cause maximum damage. A more extreme version.
And Riley, Stone Cold Steve Austin used that on him, on Pillman in the mirror. He jacked his ankle up. That's led to the little gun incident segment. Yeah.
Would be the Concerto, which uses 2 chairs for double the fun. As you may have guessed, this delightful creation takes its name from the late, great Flying Brian Pillman. However, in a break from the usual rules of this list, Pillman wasn't the first person to use the move, but rather the first one to take it.
Oh, he's
in late
take
1996, the loose cannon was feuding with his old Hollywood Blondes tag partner, Steve Austin. To cover for a genuine injury Pillman sustained to his ankle, Stone Cold placed his old pal's leg in a folding chair and then leapt onto it from the top rope. Thus, Pillmanizing was born. When you think about it, this should really be called Austinizing. However, seeing as Steve Austin already gets a bunch of credit and that Pillman is severely underrated, we're just gonna let this one slide. Number 7, the Gory Special.
Yeah,
The
Gory
Guerreros
Guerrero.
are one of the greatest wrestling families of all time. Right up there with the Harts, the Rhodes, and the Heenans. Wait, you're telling me Andre the Giant and the Red Rooster aren't actually related? Scandalous.
Really?
Alongside Eddie, both Chavos, and the Gobbledygooker, look it up, the most famous member of the clan.
Poor Hector, man. Found out that was Hector Guerrero. Poor Hector. Poor way for him to get into the WWE that way, yo, man. Dang. Well, at least he did some work elsewhere, including TNA, yo.
And is its patriarch. Beginning his career in the 1930s, Gory Guerrero wrestled across various Mexican promotions and territories in the southern United States. When the Wrestling Observer newsletter announced
Chavo
its
looked just like
inaugural
him.
Hall of
Cool.
Fame class
Chavo
in
Senior.
1996, Gory was an inductee, putting him amongst greats like Antonio Inoki
The
and
young Hulk Hogan.
One of the reasons why Gory was so respected was his ability to innovate new moves. 2 famous attacks bear his name. The Gory Special, a form of back-to-back submission hold, and the Gory Bomb, a sit-out powerbomb variation. He's also credited with the invention of the camel clutch, which allegedly got Muhammad Hassan a lot of trouble during his career. As part of a rib, Hassan was convinced to go and tell Eddie to stop using the hold because it was his move. You can just imagine how that went down for him. Number 6, the Kimura
Kimura lock.
Fans of BJJ, that stands for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, get your minds out of the gutter, might be aware of the name Masahiko Kimura.
Okay.
The Japanese fighter was a judo star before taking on Helio Gracie, one of the founders of BJJ. In a move right out of the wrestling playbook, the underdog defeated the favorite in one of the most shocking results in the sport's history. The move Kimura used to beat Gracie was a double wrist lock, or an udegarami if you want to get technical. However, after this famous victory, it gradually became known as the Kimura lock. Fans of WWE will recognize this move as one of the finishers of a certain Brock Lesnar. During the early days of his first return, the Beast would use it to break people's arms, including Shawn Michaels and Triple H. The move is more commonly used in MMA than wrestling, but it still crops up from time to time in the squared circle. Even Kimura himself has wrestling experience. He fought the legendary Riki Dozan in one of the most famous matches in Japanese history. Kimura was even a suspect in Riki Dozan's murder, but that's a story for another time. Number 5, the Asai Moonsault. Most wrestling fans will know Ultimo Dragon from one of 2 things. That picture of him holding all the belts, or him falling over at WrestleMania 20. It's a real shame that one of the best light heavyweights of all time has been reduced to a cheap gag, even if it is a really funny one. Traces of Dragon's greatness are still there if you look hard enough. You might think that the Dragon Sleeper and the Dragon Suplex are named after him, but they were actually invented by Tatsumi Fujinami, whose nickname was the Dragon. He did, however, lend his name to the Asai Moonsault, a springboard variation of the move to the outside. The grappler was born Yoshihiro Asai, which must come as a real shock to all of you who thought his real first name was Ultimo. This version of the moonsault is everywhere in modern wrestling. AJ Styles, Pac, every luchador ever. If a wrestler flips, then they're gonna do this move. Ultimo Dragon is one of those performers who was in the wrong era. If he'd been born 15 or even 20 years later, he'd have been one of the biggest stars on the planet. Number 4, the Frankensteiner.
Yep.
Looking at Scott Steiner these days, it's hard to imagine him bending over to tie his shoes, let alone doing anything in the wrestling ring. Before he gained approximately 8 tons in muscle mass, Scotty and his brother Rick were one of the most impressive tag teams on the planet. Just as capable of mad athleticism as they were impressive feats of strength, the Steiners became huge stars as a result of their versatility. A classic example of this is one of Scott's signature maneuvers. The Frankensteiner, an obvious nod to both the classic monster and his own last name, is a modified version of the classic Lucha Libre move, the Hurricane Rana. Technically, the difference is that a Frankensteiner drops opponents on their heads as opposed to their backs. Ultimately, they are very similar, so just go with whichever name makes Scott happiest. You really don't want to get on his bad side. The Frankensteiner lives on in many different
Braun.
ways, notably through Scott's own nephew, Bron Breakker. He tends to use the move from the top rope, which, if Steiner tried to do today, he would fall through the ring and all the way to the Earth's core. Number 3, the
Michinoku driver, yes.
Despite what Michael Cole might say, a Michinoku driver is not a blue thunder bomb. Instead, it's a sit-out version of the traditional body slam. Sometimes the offensive wrestler will drop their opponent on their head instead, pile driver style. Although I don't know if that's intentional or they were just having a bad day. But why is it called the Michinoku driver, I hear you ask? Well, as any Attitude Era kid will tell you, it's because it was popularized by the great Taka Michinoku. Actually, there wasn't really much great about Taka during his WWE run, unless you count his involvement in the legendary Choppy Choppy Your PP segment, which I do. Instead, Michinoku's best work can be found in his native Japan. Similarly to Ultimo Dragon, he helped usher in a faster-paced, more physically impressive style of wrestling that would eventually become the standard across the entire industry. Unfortunately, he was also born far too early for fans to fully appreciate him. Still, the fact that his move and name are all over the wrestling business is testament to his lasting legacy, a legacy that also happens to involve Val Venus's genitals. Number 2, the Thesz Press. When Stone Cold Steve Austin buggered his neck at SummerSlam 97, it severely reduced the number of different moves he could do without snapping in half. Thankfully, there was one maneuver he could still hit with ease, running at somebody, jumping on them, and then beating the hell out of them. Pure wrestling poetry. This became a key part of the Rattlesnake's offense, and would always get a huge pop from the rabid fans who were there to support their hero. While the punches are an Austin original, the initial part of the move is called a flying body scissors, or more commonly, a Thesz press. The move takes its name from its creator, the legendary Lou Thesz. A 3-time NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, he holds the record for both most combined days with the belt and longest single reign in its history. He spent 2,300 days as champion between 1949 and 1953, making Roman Reigns' run with the WWE title look minuscule by comparison. Alongside the press, there's also invented the STF, the German suplex, and the powerbomb. No wonder Pacitti wouldn't ever stop banging on about it. And number 1, the O'Connor roll. There are many ways to pin a wrestler. You can hit them with a finisher or a foreign object, or even use the ropes for a little bit of extra leverage. Then there are the moves that pin someone without an offensive move, which I'll refer to as the cheeky bastards. This family of moves includes the schoolboy, the backslide, the jackknife, and the subject of this entry, the O'Connor roll. The wrestler doing the pin stands behind their opponent, arms around their waist, before rolling backwards. They then end up on top of them, putting all of their pressure onto their victim, and hopefully getting the 1, 2, 3. The move is named after Pat O'Connor, another wrestler so old that he only exists in black and white. Born in New Zealand, O'Connor made a big name in the United States in both the NWA and the AWA. In fact, there was even a time where he held both of those promotions' top titles simultaneously. A rare feat even now. So next time you want to annoy your friend by pinning them out of nowhere on 2K...
Alright, cool. So yeah, definitely some history lesson right there, though, too. More, I think just about all the movies that I heard about, but not know all of them were, like, based off of, wrestler. Like, I mean, this no guy knew about it, and Lou Thesz Press, of course, the Frankenstein was too, but the Kimura, finally the Kimura and all that. And I think I knew about the Gory as well too, but Kimura, all that is pretty cool to find out as well too. And I feel like it's more of that as well too. Yeah. Other than that, if you like my reaction to this, like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Shout out to Colorholic. It's your boy T-Bear signing off. One love.